Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to calmly and methodically master the essential pharmacy math and formulas you absolutely need to crush the NAPLEX. Okay, let's just get right into it because I know that standing in front of a giant mountain of clinical calculations can feel super overwhelming. But as a pharmacy tutor, I promise you, these formulas are completely masterable when we break them down step by step. By the end of this review, you'll have a solid, reliable framework for exactly how to attack these problems on test day.
Before we jump into the numbers, let's just take a quick moment. Seriously, take one slow breath in, pause, and exhale. Maybe name one thing you're grateful for today. You've already put in so much real, grueling work to reach this point in your pharmacy journey. Be proud of the discipline that brought you here. Remember, pharmacy math is completely learnable. It just takes repetition. This review is simply another step forward in that process. We're going to keep our tone calm, confident, and totally focused. Here's our roadmap for today's structured review. We'll start with core conversions, move into concentrations and dilutions, hit dosing and kidney function, tackle pharmacokinetics, look at biostatistics, and finish up with common exam traps.
Okay, Section 1, Core Conversions.
These are the fundamental building blocks of almost every clinical calculation you'll face, whether you're calculating an IV flow rate, figuring out parenteral nutrition, or adjusting a dose. If your foundation isn't solid here, the rest of the formula just won't matter. Let's look at the relationship between milliequivalents and millimoles. Say you're asked to convert 20 milliequivalents of calcium to millimoles. Tracking your units and valences here is absolutely crucial. Step 1, identify the valence. Calcium is divalent, meaning it has a valence of 2. Step 2, apply the rule. For divalent ions, milliequivalents equal 2 times the millimoles. So, for step 3, to find those millimoles, we just take our 20 milliequivalents and divide by 2, giving us 10 millimoles. The trick is to not blindly memorize. Always think about the charge of the ion.
So your big takeaway for this section is this. Always convert your units before starting the main calculation. It's the easiest way to avoid common exam traps. Convert your micrograms to milligrams, your milliliters to liters, and your pounds to kilograms, remembering to divide those pounds by 2.2. If you try to run dimensional analysis without converting your units first, you're practically guaranteed to pick a distractor answer.
Moving right along to Section 2, Concentrations, Dilutions, and Osmolarity.
In this area, moving the decimal point correctly is honestly half the battle. This is highly relevant when you're compounding products or deciphering percentage strengths for IV bags. When turning a ratio into a percentage, a 1 to 1,000 ratio simply means 100 divided by 1,000, which equals 0.1%. Now, to go from a percentage to parts per million, or ppm, you just move the decimal 4 places to the right, so 0.1% becomes 1,000 parts per million. Mastering that quick 4-place decimal shift is going to save you so much valuable time on the exam.
Let's see how this builds into alligation, which is a highly testable compounding scenario. When you need to mix a high and a low-strength product to get a specific desired strength, alligation steps help you perfectly visualize the math. Let's say we have a 20% and a 5% cream, and we want to make a 10% cream. Step 1, subtract the low from the desired to find the parts of the high strength. 10 minus 5 is 5 parts of the 20%. Step 2, subtract the desired from the high to find the parts of the low strength. 20 minus 10 is 10 parts of the 5%. Finally, step 3, your ratio of high to low is 5 to 10, which beautifully simplifies down to 1 to 2. It's a foolproof little matrix once you get the hang of it. Let's dive into Section 3, Dosing and Kidney Function.
Now we're applying these basics directly to patients. This is clinical pharmacy in action, folks. Renal adjustments are a massive part of daily practice and a huge part of the NAPLEX. The Cockcroft-Gault formula is your absolute gold standard here. It's 140 minus the patient's age, multiplied by their weight in kilograms, all divided by 72 times their serum creatinine. And do not forget that vital multiplier at the end. You must multiply by 0.85 if the patient is female. But honestly, doing the arithmetic isn't the trickiest part of his formula. The real trap is choosing the right weight.
And here is your major NAPLEX trap alert. You have to select the correct weight based on the patient's body habitus. Always use total body weight if the patient is underweight. For normal weight patients, you're usually going to use ideal body weight, but you must switch to adjusted body weight for obese patients specifically when they are receiving aminoglycosides. Now, as a quick caveat, for drugs like acyclovir, levothyroxine, or theophylline in obese patients, you still stick to ideal body weight. This means you have to read those exam item instructions incredibly carefully.
All right, Section 4, Pharmacokinetics and Drug Levels.
We're stepping it up a notch. This is a super high-yield area that determines how long a drug actually stays in the body, which is how we manage narrow therapeutic index drugs. First up is the volume of distribution, or VD. VD equals the dose divided by C0, which is just the plasma concentration right after an IV bolus. The volume of distribution tells us how extensively a drug distributes out into the tissues, rather than just hanging out in the blood. This formula is critical because it's exactly what helps us calculate the perfect loading dose to reach our target levels quickly. Let's walk through an example to find that loading dose. Step 1, let's say our target plasma concentration is 15 milligrams per liter, and our VD is 35 liters. Step 2 is our formula. Loading dose equals VD times target concentration divided by F, which is our bioavailability. Walking through the dimensional analysis in Step 3, we multiply our 35-liter volume by the 15 milligram per liter target. Notice how beautifully those liters just cancel right out, leaving us strictly with milligrams. And because this is an IV dose, our bioavailability factor, that F variable, is simply 1. So 35 times 15 equals 525 milligrams.
Now, lock this specific number right into your memory, 0.693. Dividing this constant by the elimination rate constant, or K, will always give you the drug's half-life. And it works the other way too. 0.693 divided by the half-life gives you the K. It is quite literally the golden constant of pharmacokinetics. Moving on to Section 5, Biostatistics and Days Supply.
This is our final major math category. You're going to use this constantly for analyzing drug information, evaluating clinical trials, and interpreting the medical literature. One of the most frequently tested concepts here is the number needed to treat, or NNT. This metric tells us exactly how many patients you must treat with an experimental therapy to prevent one bad outcome compared to the control group. The formula is beautifully simple. You just divide 1 by the absolute risk reduction expressed as a decimal.
Let's do the math on this one. Step 1. Say our absolute risk reduction is 8%. We must convert that to a decimal first, making it 0.08. Step 2. We calculate 1 divided by 0.08, which gives us 12.5. Now here is a massive exam trap outlined in Step 3. If your calculation yields 12.5, you must always round up to the next whole number, making it 13 patients. Why? Because you literally cannot treat half a patient. Even if the math came out to 12.1 for number needed to treat, you always round up to ensure you actually achieve that one positive clinical outcome.
Finally, Section 6, Common Exam Traps.
Let's wrap up this explainer by quickly reviewing the most common pitfalls so you can actively recognize and dodge them on test day. Before you submit any calculation, take a breath and run through a mental checklist. Did you convert your units first? Did you verify your weight selection, remembering to use adjusted body weight for those aminoglycosides in obese patients? Did you check if you need to correct your calcium or phenytoin levels because the patient has low albumin? Are you correcting your sodium for high glucose? And finally, did you remember that for IV routes, bioavailability F is always 1, and that for drop rates and NNT, you always round up?
So, I want to leave you with this question. Are you ready to practice these formulas until they become completely automatic? True progress is built on repeated review. So grab a notebook, write out your unit cancellations, actively check for those exam traps we talked about, and keep practicing these calculations until they become second nature. Remember, the math isn't there to trick you, it's there to keep your future patients safe. You've totally got this. Keep up the amazing work, and I'll see you in the next explainer.